There's a moment every man faces, though he'll rarely speak it out loud, a crossroads where belief in yourself isn't backed by applause, achievement, or any sign from the world that you're on the right path. It's early morning, before the city wakes, when your dreams seem both closest and most impossible, and the quiet in your room is heavy with doubt. The world outside will sell you the story that belief comes after proof, that faith is a reward for results, that you must have a track record to claim your confidence. But that's the greatest lie you'll ever hear. Nietzsche wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow." But what if your why is invisible? What if the only thing you have is a whisper, an intuition, a stubborn pulse in your chest telling you, try again, even if you can't prove you'll win? The world loves the finished product, the success story. But it forgets that every masterpiece began as a messy draft, every champion as an anonymous striver, every legend as someone whose belief outlasted their evidence. Let's be honest, it's easy to believe in yourself when others do. It's easy when the crowd is clapping, when your name's on the board, when the scoreboard shows you're winning. But real faith? Real faith is born when you're losing, when you're invisible, when no one sees the fight but you. Why is it so hard to back yourself when you have no proof? Why does the voice of doubt seem so much louder than the quiet conviction inside? Why do we ask permission from the world before daring to act like we matter? Here's the truth. The greatest victories are built on days nobody notices, in moments where you pick yourself up for no audience but your own reflection. If you're waiting for proof before you commit, you'll wait forever. Because the proof is never the beginning, it's the result of showing up, again and again, when every reason says quit. The illusion is that confidence is a product of accomplishment. The reality, accomplishment is the product of confidence, of irrational, sometimes reckless faith in yourself, especially when there's nothing to show for it. So what are the commandments for living this way? Never outsource your faith. Don't let others' disbelief become your limit. Protect your dream in its rawest, most fragile form, guard it from cynics, naysayers, and even your own worst days. Be your own first believer, and never demand the world to believe before you do. What are the patterns that build unshakable confidence? You show up, no matter the result. You learn, fail, adapt, but you never walk away from your vision. You celebrate small wins, even if no one else notices. You let mistakes teach you, but never define you. Why do most people fail to build this kind of faith? Because they're waiting for external validation, permission, applause, certainty, before they risk. But those who make history, who change their world, are the ones who decide. If I'm all I have today, I am enough. So tonight, if you're doubting, if you're fighting battles no one else sees, if your only evidence is that you refuse to quit, remember, belief is a choice, not a reward. You don't need proof to begin. You only need the courage to stand, to try to say, I am worth betting on even when the world says nothing back. Every morning, as the city shakes off its sleep and gears up for another round of proving itself, you step into a world that keeps score, even when you're not playing. Out there, everything is measured: status, salary, success, even happiness. People wear their evidence like armor. Diplomas on the wall, followers on the screen, trophies on the shelf. It's a marketplace of validation, and if you don't have proof, you're treated as a suspect. But what nobody admits is how many men wake up and feel like imposters in their own lives. They go through the motions, put on the uniform, smile when it's required, but deep down, there's a question gnawing at their confidence. Who am I if I have nothing to show for it yet? Do I really have what it takes, or am I just pretending, hoping nobody notices the truth? Kierkegaard once said, to dare is to lose one's footing momentarily. Not to dare is to lose oneself. Every step you take without proof is a small act of rebellion against a world obsessed with certainty. You become a heretic of the status quo, betting on your own becoming when even you can't see the finish line. Why does self-belief feel like such a risk? Because every instinct you have wants security, approval, certainty. We're wired to seek comfort in the crowd, to anchor our identity to something solid, a career, a relationship, a list of accomplishments. But faith in yourself demands you let go of the safety rail. It means acting while you're unsure, speaking before you know the answer, building before you have a blueprint. It's uncomfortable. It's lonely. Sometimes it feels almost foolish. How do you keep going when your only reward is the sound of your own footsteps? How do you keep building when you can't see the walls rising, when every brick seems to disappear into the fog? The illusion is that you need certainty to move. The reality is that movement creates certainty. The world teaches you to fake it till you make it, but the real secret is to do it till you become it. It's the work, the repetition, the daily courage that slowly, quietly, without fanfare, turns doubt into strength. What are the commandments of this quiet war? Refuse to measure your value by visible proof alone. Commit to the process, not the applause. Take the next step, even if you're still afraid. What are the patterns that create unbreakable self-belief? You practice, you stumble, you get back up, not once, but 1,000 times. You allow yourself to be a beginner, awkward and unfinished, because you know mastery comes after the mess. You find pride in the unseen hours, the work you do when no one is looking, the discipline you keep when nobody will ever know. Why do so many give up on themselves before they start? Because the world is loud, and the voice inside is quiet. Because it's easier to join the critics than to build something worth criticizing. Because being your own champion is the loneliest job in the world, until, one day, it isn't. So tonight, if the silence feels heavy, if doubt sits at your table like an unwelcome guest, remember this. Every man who ever changed his life, every man who ever made a mark, started out doubting, started out alone. Their strength was not in what they knew, but in their willingness to keep showing up, even when no one clapped, no one noticed, no one believed. And if you do that, if you keep going, you'll wake up one day with something rarer than proof, the unshakable knowledge that you didn't wait for anyone's permission. You wrote your own legend, one day, one small act of faith at a time. Your subscription and comment aren't just numbers. They're signals that decide what video comes next. Share your thoughts or ideas in the comments. They often become the foundation for news stories. Interestingly, over 90% of viewers watch my videos without subscribing. That's okay. It means the content pulls you in. But subscribing helps you stay updated with the next parts. Hit subscribe, and let's create the next video together. Faith in yourself isn't a switch you flip. It's more like a muscle you stretch, a skill you build, a ritual you repeat when the world gives you nothing but reasons to quit. If you're waiting for one big moment to change everything, you'll wait your whole life. Real self-belief is made in the ordinary minutes, before sunrise, after work, in the pauses between distractions, in the moments when the only witness to your effort is you. There's a hidden dignity in this private practice. You set your alarm and get up, before there's applause, before there's reward. You keep the promise you made to yourself yesterday, even if no one else cares. You write the page, take the walk, make the call, try again. Every small act is a rebellion against the part of you that wants to give up and the part of the world that's waiting for you to fail. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Every obstacle, every setback, every whisper of doubt is not a sign to turn back, but a reminder. Your journey is real, even if no one else sees the road. Why is it so hard to trust in these small steps? Because they don't make noise. They don't get likes. They don't show up on the scoreboard, not at first. And so you're tempted to skip them, to wait until the world is watching, to postpone your courage until there's a guarantee. But here's the truth. Nothing big grows without little rituals. All the champions you admire, all the legends whose names survive the storms of time, they started with unremarkable mornings, unseen nights, the slow grind of habit before history paid attention. So what are the commandments of practical self-belief? Celebrate your small wins, even if nobody else does. Protect your morning. Give yourself 1 hour where your own dream comes first. Refuse to break promises to yourself, even if you break every other rule. What does this look like in real life? It's doing the work without the rush for results. It's telling yourself, well done, when you show up, regardless of outcome. It's learning to enjoy the process, not just the praise. Why do most people fail at this? Because they think belief is a feeling, when really, it's a practice. Because they wait to feel ready instead of acting ready. Because they look for evidence in the world instead of building evidence inside themselves. If tonight you feel invisible or your voice is shaking, or you wonder if any of this matters, let me tell you. The universe honors the man who persists. There's no ceremony, no confetti, no viral moment. There's just the slow, steady rising of a man who refuses to give up, who is brave enough to keep building his dream in the dark until the dawn finally arrives. You don't need evidence. You need endurance. And the more you practice, the stronger your faith will grow until, one day, the world will wonder where you found your strength. And you'll know, you made it, day by ordinary day, long before anyone was watching. Dawn creeps over the city and finds you alone, standing at the edge of everything you thought you knew. It's always like this. The bridge appears when you're not sure you have the strength to cross it, stretching out over a chasm of doubt and past regrets, boards slick with old failures. The world behind you whispering that it would be easier to stay where you are. The other side is hidden by fog, and the only light is the thin flame you carry inside. Each step forward creaks and groans under your weight, the silence louder than your doubts. But turning back is no longer an option. The familiar has become a cage. The unknown ahead, no matter how frightening, is the only way out. Somewhere you once read Emerson. Self-trust is the first secret of success. Maybe you underlined it in a book, maybe you laughed at how simple it sounded. But out here, on the bridge of becoming, self-trust feels less like a gift and more like a dare, a challenge to keep going when the world is silent and you are your only witness. No one hands out medals for crossing this bridge. No one marks the planks with signs. Here, you overcame. Or here, you nearly quit. Most of the battle happens in the spaces no one ever sees. You come to realize that every man who ever became someone had to face this same crossing. They stood in the cold mist of not knowing, listening for signs, praying for proof, and most days receiving only the echo of their own breath. The world sells the illusion that confidence is the entry ticket, that you must wait for certainty before you risk a single step. But you learn, step by trembling step, that the truth is the opposite. Confidence is built plank by uncertain plank, forged in the act of moving forward when every part of you wants to freeze. The fog, the fear, the doubt, they are not signs to stop, but the price you pay for becoming someone new. Every morning you create your own anchors, writing in a journal, saying something kind to the face in the mirror, choosing a small discipline and keeping it. You read the stories of men who crossed before you, not searching for shortcuts, but for proof that persistence is possible. Every time you stumble, every time you stand still and listen to your doubts without obeying them, you grow a little braver. And this is where most men fail, not because they fall, but because they wait for the fog to clear before they move, demanding certainty from a future that can only ever offer mystery. They let doubt turn into paralysis instead of progress, and the bridge becomes their prison instead of their path. But tonight, with dawn just beginning to color the sky, you keep walking. You talk to yourself, quietly, stubbornly, reminding yourself that nobody else will give you permission, that every hero's story began with the same kind of fear. Your footsteps on the old wood are a rhythm, a ritual, a promise. You will not let the silence stop you. The further you go, the more you realize that the bridge isn't there to test your strength. It's there to reveal it. And someday soon, you'll step onto the far side, and the fog will lift, and you'll know. Every uncertain step was worth it. There are days when doubt returns like an old shadow, slipping silently into your morning just as the sun rises. You pour your coffee, you look out at a world that moves with mechanical purpose, and you wonder if maybe today is the day you give in and step back from the edge. It's so easy to convince yourself that you need more proof, another sign, another yes from the universe, before you can trust your own instincts. Every billboard, every timeline, every conversation seems to say the same thing. Don't risk, don't hope, don't believe unless there's evidence you'll win. Yet there's a stubborn voice inside you, refusing to be silenced. Sometimes it's barely a whisper. Sometimes it's just the memory of something you once wanted, a vision of a better self that refuses to die. Kierkegaard wrote, "To dare is to lose one's footing momentarily. Not to dare is to lose oneself." How many times have you found yourself hesitating, measuring the worth of your next move against standards that were never really yours to begin with? How often have you caught yourself holding back, waiting for approval that never comes, searching the faces of strangers for a permission they cannot give? It's easy to imagine that faith should be loud, triumphant, unbreakable. The truth is, faith is usually quiet, a discipline practiced in the smallest hours, a decision to keep trying when nobody's watching, a willingness to act in the absence of any guarantee. Real self-belief doesn't come with banners or theme music. It's built in the silent negotiations you have with yourself each day, in the gentle but unyielding refusal to let go of your dreams. You begin to recognize the patterns of your own growth. You say yes to small risks, a conversation you would have avoided, an idea you finally write down, a project you start even if you don't feel ready. You show up when you're tired. You stand your ground when it's easier to sit. You reach out, not because you're certain, but because you've learned that connection is fuel for belief. The victories are almost invisible at first, but each one builds a foundation for the next. Most people never see this process. They only see the breakthrough, the finished work, the polished product. They don't see the 1,000 private failures, the years of effort, the inner battles fought and won in silence. They believe that luck or talent is everything, and so they wait, paralyzed by the need for proof, missing the truth that faith is action repeated until it becomes character. Tonight, if you're standing on your own bridge, if the night is long and your hands are cold, remember this. You do not need to feel certain to take the next step. You only need to trust that with each movement, you are building the life you want, plank by plank, moment by moment, without applause or confirmation. The men who change their world are not the loudest, nor the most certain. They are the ones who keep going when the crowd has moved on. They become their own source of strength. So give yourself permission. Trust your quiet work. You are further than you think, and closer than you know. Some mornings, faith in yourself feels almost effortless, a surge of energy, a clarity of purpose, as if the sun itself rose just for you. But most days, belief is a slow awakening, a negotiation with every doubt that ever found a home inside your head. You brush your teeth, lace your shoes, go through the familiar motions, and wonder if today will be the day it all comes together, or if you'll have to settle for one more invisible victory, one more quiet refusal to quit. There are moments when the smallest decisions become the most important. You sit down to work even when the voice in your mind says you're wasting your time. You reach out to a friend when silence would be easier. You resist the urge to prove yourself to people who will never see your worth. In these moments, you practice a kind of self-respect that's invisible to the world, but transformative inside. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." How much time have you spent waiting for permission to start, to risk, to believe? How many hours have you lost measuring yourself against impossible standards, hoping for applause before you've even taken a step? You begin to understand that most of the world will never notice your struggle. The victories that matter are private, the days you show up, the nights you keep your promise to yourself, the times you decide not to surrender your dreams just to fit in. There's a quiet dignity in this kind of living, a strength that isn't loud, but persistent, patient, stubbornly loyal to your own best self. Doubt will always visit. Sometimes it will arrive dressed as logic, or responsibility, or realism. Sometimes it will whisper that you're too late, too broken, too ordinary to deserve what you want. The world is full of voices ready to echo your fears. But faith is not a matter of argument or evidence. Faith is a decision, a commitment to stand your ground even when your knees are shaking. You start to see the patterns. The men who build great things are not the ones who waited for validation. They are the ones who chose themselves. Every day, you carve out a little more space for your own voice. You make room for mistakes, because you know that mastery is built on a mountain of failures. You speak kindly to yourself when you fall short, because you've learned that self-respect is the soil in which confidence grows. Most men fail not because they lack talent, but because they run from discomfort. They quit when it gets lonely, or slow, or when nobody's clapping. They believe the lie that belief must come before action, never realizing that action is what forges belief. So tonight, if the road ahead is foggy, if your progress is invisible, if all you have is the quiet insistence of your own hope, don't turn back. There is more courage in your daily persistence than in a lifetime of easy victories. You are enough. You are building something real, plank by plank, decision by decision. Let the world doubt. You keep going. One day, you'll wake up and realize the faith you needed was not in the world, but in yourself. And that, quietly, is how every great life begins. There are mornings when you wake and feel as if the world is holding its breath, as if the sky itself is waiting to see what you'll do. You stare into the bathroom mirror, see the lines that weren't there last year, the tiredness behind your eyes, and you wonder if this is all there is: routine, responsibility, the never-ending work of holding yourself together. For a split second, you think about the boy you used to be, the one who believed in magic and possibility, and for a moment you wonder if he'd recognize you now. Carl Jung once said, "A man only becomes himself when he stops living out someone else's script." You can feel the weight of those words in your bones. How much of your life have you spent acting in a story you didn't write, chasing dreams that were handed to you by strangers, family, the world outside? How many of your battles have been for approval, not meaning? How many choices did you make because you wanted applause, not because you wanted truth? This is the silent tragedy of most lives. We are taught to obey, to conform, to follow the safe path. We build cages from expectations, mistaking comfort for security and busyness for purpose. The world sells you a map, but forgets to mention that the only treasures worth finding are buried off the chart. You start to ask yourself the questions that matter. Why do I settle for less than I am? Who benefits when I shrink to fit someone else's idea of who I should be? What do I lose every time I trade my own vision for approval? The illusion is seductive, that if you just tick enough boxes, play the game, keep your head down, eventually you'll be granted the life you want. But the truth is colder and harder. It takes courage to step off the path, to risk being misunderstood, to speak your own language when the world would rather you remain silent. You realize the cost of living a life that isn't yours, a slow fading of color, a quiet erosion of hope. There are laws you learn as you go, Never settle for the easy yes when your soul screams no. Don't mistake attention for value. Applause is a cheap currency, and it never lasts. Walk alone if you must, because your truth is not always a crowd pleaser. The world will always offer comfort in exchange for your edge, but only you can decide which pain you're willing to live with, the pain of regret or the pain of becoming. You begin to notice the patterns. When you set boundaries, the wrong people get angry, the right people get closer. When you choose honesty over harmony, you lose the people who only loved your mask and discover the ones who love your scars. The more you live by your own code, the more you find yourself surrounded by people who live by theirs. Little by little, your world rearranges itself around your courage. But most men falter not because they are weak, but because they grow tired of being alone at the frontier. They return to the crowd, hoping for warmth, and find only noise. The world is full of men who abandon their own script to join the chorus. Their stories become hollow, their days a repetition, their fire dimmed by the approval they thought would save them. So here's the ultimatum, the quiet challenge whispered by every dawn: step out of line. Speak your mind even when your voice trembles. Trust that the ground will appear beneath your feet as you walk. The world remembers those who refuse to be erased, who write their own story, who risk the loneliness of authenticity for the deep satisfaction of being truly alive. Today, let your life be a declaration: I will not shrink. I will not silence my truth for comfort. I will be my own authority. Because the only path worth walking is the one you blaze yourself. Even if you have to walk it alone. Sometimes it feels as if you're walking through a fog of invisible opinions, 100 silent voices telling you to slow down, stay quiet, blend in. You sense it in the way people watch each other in public, careful not to draw too much attention, careful not to reach too far. You hear it in the laughter that's just a little too forced, in the polite agreement that leaves your soul restless, in the safe choices that taste like ashes. You see it most clearly at night, when the noise fades and you're left alone with your own dreams, unpolished and proven, raw. Nietzsche once said, "Become who you are." But what he didn't say is how much resistance you'll face the moment you start trying. The world has a script for you, one it rehearsed long before you could speak. It tells you what to want, who to love, how to measure success, when to celebrate, and when to hide your fire. It teaches you to seek shelter in consensus, to equate agreement with safety, to bow to the logic of the crowd. But deep down, you know the price. Every time you choose comfort over courage, every time you silence your real voice for a seat at someone else's table, you give away a little piece of yourself. The mechanism is simple. You cannot find your purpose by following the path everyone else walks. No one ever built a legend by being indistinguishable. Why is it so hard to break free? Why do we keep circling the same questions, revisiting the same insecurities, looking for proof that we belong? Why do we sometimes betray ourselves for the illusion of harmony? You begin to see the illusion, that the crowd offers belonging, that safety means fulfillment, that silence is a virtue. The truth is more demanding. You only find yourself by risking rejection, by speaking your vision, by daring to move differently, even when you stand alone. So what does real faith in yourself look like? It's a daily practice of honesty. It's letting yourself be a beginner, even when your ego wants to look like an expert. It's refusing to judge your worth by your place in the pecking order. It's loving the part of you that's wild, unfinished, still searching. There are commandments that matter here. Refuse to blend in if it means blurring who you are. Guard your inner voice the way you'd guard a precious flame. Let every no to the world be a deeper yes to your own soul. Don't wait for evidence. Move, create, become, and let the proof appear in time. You start to live differently. You take small risks, speaking up when it would be easier to stay silent, trying new things when the crowd plays it safe, reaching for connections that nourish, not just distract. You give yourself permission to walk away from what dims your spark, even if it means walking alone for a while. Most people never do this. They trade authenticity for acceptance, edge for applause, truth for comfort. They wake up years later and wonder why life feels so flat, so predictable, so empty. But you are here for more. The world doesn't need more echoes. It needs originals. It needs your risk, your laughter, your scars, your voice. So tonight, don't measure yourself by anyone else's script. Measure yourself by the courage you show when no one else sees. The man you become is forged not by consensus, but by the wild, persistent act of believing in your right to exist as you truly are. You are not here to fit in. You are here to stand out, to blaze a path, to live, not just survive. You reach a point where you realize the world's approval is a currency that always loses its value. All those years chasing compliments, waiting for someone to notice your work, to see your heart, to finally nod and say, "You made it," you start to see the emptiness beneath it all. The applause fades as quickly as it arrives, and what's left is the quiet echo of your own choices. Seneca wrote, "If you want to be loved, love yourself first." But what does that mean in a world where loving yourself is often called arrogance, and daring to trust your own vision is seen as defiance? You feel the tension every day. You want to be seen, understood, valued, but not at the price of your truth. You want connection, but not the kind that forces you to shrink, to edit your dreams, to sand down your edges until you're just another face in the crowd. The mechanism is brutal. The more you chase outside approval, the further you drift from your core. Every sacrifice of your own voice for the sake of peace, every compromise of what you know is right for what is simply easy, takes you further from the man you might have been. You lose your fire one apology at a time, one unspoken thought at a time, until you wake up in a life you don't recognize. Why is it so hard to stop chasing? Why is the silence after applause so deafening? Why do you feel most alone right after everyone's praised you? It's because applause was never meant to fill you. It was meant to encourage you on the road, not define the direction of your journey. The illusion is that approval will make you whole. The truth is, only self-respect does that, and it is earned in the moments when you stand alone, not when you blend in. You build your rules for this new life. Don't trade your truth for popularity. Refuse to apologize for your dreams. Practice respect for yourself as fiercely as you seek it from others. Let your actions, not your image, be the measure of your worth. Your patterns shift. You seek out people who value what's real, not just what's impressive. You give up the need to defend yourself. You spend less time explaining, more time building. You let silence teach you instead of scare you. You discover the power in patience, in the slow grind of becoming, in the kind of strength that isn't loud but unbreakable. Most men never get here. They lose themselves in the noise, spend their lives waiting for proof, for permission, for a love that feels earned instead of simply lived. They miss the miracle. You are enough, as you are, on the days no one is clapping. Tonight, let that be your anthem. Let it be the standard you raise for yourself. The world may never fully understand you, may never grant you the validation you hoped for. But in the end, the only respect that counts is the one you grant yourself, in the mirror, in the silence, in the aftermath of every honest choice. Build that, and you'll have something no one can ever take away. You wake up one morning and realize that real freedom isn't about escaping responsibility, but about embracing it. Not the kind others force on you, but the quiet, stubborn responsibility for your own becoming. It means you stop blaming the world, your past, or the people who doubted you. You begin to see every excuse, every hesitation, every delay was just another way of postponing your own greatness. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. That's the quiet revolution, choosing to become, every day, in the small moments, without waiting for the world's approval, or a stroke of luck, or someone else to give you the green light. You realize that belief in yourself isn't just an attitude, it's a commitment, a practice, a sacred duty to the life you alone can build. It's not about perfection, or winning every battle. It's about the small acts of bravery, the decision to begin when you feel behind, to stand up when you've fallen, to reach out when you're lonely, to forgive yourself for not knowing better yesterday. These are the muscles of self-trust, and you train them every day. Why do we hold back, even when the path is clear? Why do we keep asking for signs, when we already know the first step? Why do we insist on waiting for evidence, when every example worth following started without it? The illusion is that some men are born with unshakable confidence. The truth is, confidence is earned, and it's earned in solitude and struggle, in moments when you're both terrified and stubborn enough to keep going anyway. The rules become clear. Stop looking for shortcuts. Accept responsibility for your actions, your failures, your healing. Make your word mean something, even if you're the only one who hears it. Be relentless in your pursuit, gentle with your mistakes. You change your patterns, day by day. You check your phone less, your heart more. You speak less to impress and more to connect. You listen to the small, honest voice inside, the one that says, let's try again. The reason most people never get free isn't lack of talent or luck. It's the refusal to own their choices, to risk being responsible for both the mess and the miracle of their lives. Tonight, look in the mirror and know, freedom begins with you. Not the version others want, but the real man inside. Begin now. Build your own proof. Trust the road, even if it's dark. The man who moves forward, even without evidence, is already rewriting the meaning of courage. Some days, belief feels like a tiny flame flickering in a storm, a small, trembling light you shield with your hands as the world howls around you. It's on those days, especially when you're most tempted to give up, to let the wind snuff it out, to retreat into the easy comfort of low expectations and safe, familiar patterns. You wonder if it would be easier to go back, to stop reaching, to blend in and accept good enough as your ceiling. But then you remember, every great life was built on the back of persistence. Not the thunderous victories that make headlines, but the quiet acts of endurance, the choice to try one more time, to hope in the face of discouragement, to hold steady even when nobody notices. The world is full of men who gave up too soon, who let their dreams die in silence, who believe the lie that struggle means they're unworthy or alone. But you are not alone. Every honest man, every true builder, every voice that ever mattered faced these same dark hours. The proof isn't in the evidence you collect from others, but in the way you show up for yourself. You learn to honor your own struggle. You learn that not every day will feel strong, that sometimes just showing up is enough. You let go of the shame that says you should have been further by now, and instead, you choose to begin again, as many times as it takes. It's in these small moments that you find real brotherhood, the silent understanding between those who have fallen and gotten back up, who have doubted but dared anyway. You give yourself permission to rest, to breathe, to feel uncertain without abandoning your purpose. There is no finish line in this journey. There is only the daily practice of self-respect, the commitment to building what matters to you, the willingness to live out loud in a world that sometimes prefers whispers. Each day you choose to believe, even without evidence, you become a little more yourself, a little more free. Tonight, keep the flame alive. Even if it's small, even if it flickers, it's yours. And it's enough. And so, here you are still standing, still reaching, still holding on to that fragile thread of belief when the world gave you every reason to let go. Maybe you're not where you hoped you'd be. Maybe you've taken detours, lost battles, doubted your worth, or started over more times than you care to admit. Maybe the evidence is still thin, the results still out of sight. But you are here, and that's what matters most. You've learned by now that self-belief isn't about loud declarations or perfect confidence. It's not about having proof or being praised or even always knowing what comes next. It's about waking up and choosing, again and again, to trust your own hands with the work of your life. It's about daring to try before you feel ready, to act even when you're scared, to speak the truth that only you can say. You've learned that it's okay to be uncertain, to walk forward without a map, to move in the direction of your own becoming even when no one understands. You know now that the men who inspire you most didn't wait for proof. They built it, day by day, choice by choice, breath by breath. Tonight, if you're tired, if you wonder whether you have what it takes, let this be your reminder. You're not alone on this path. Every story worth telling was once a question. Every legend began in silence and doubt. Every new chapter starts with the courage to turn the page. So take a deep breath. Let go of what you can't control. Hold on to your own light, no matter how small. Trust that you are further than you think, that every step matters, that the man you're becoming is built in these unseen, uncelebrated hours. This is your journey, your story, your proof. No one can walk it for you, but you never have to walk it alone.